Joining me today on the Capital Show, Toni Nissi. Toni is the president of the International Committee of the United Nations Resolutions for Lebanon. And you are most welcome, Toni. Following your article on the Wall Street Journal, you said there is hope for a more peaceful Lebanon. Hezbollah dominates the country's politics, but activists are trying to reclaim the title Switzerland of the Middle East for their country. Can you elaborate more about the main topic and some of details for this article?
Actually, we held a conference like a couple of years ago under the patronage of the Patriarch Rai. Mm-hmm. And the title of the conference was Neutrality of Lebanon, an International Conference for Lebanon. And I don't know if you heard about this project, but what we were trying to do is to promote the neutrality of Lebanon. And whenever you say neutrality of Lebanon, it means Lebanon needs to be in good terms with his neighbors. Yeah. And when we say neighbors, it means both neighbors, Syria and Israel, because we only have these two neighbors
on the border.
So, yeah, and we tackled everything related to this, including the anti-normalization law with Israel. Mm-hmm. So, what we were saying then is actually what we're seeing right now. We said that Hezbollah is dominating the country. A day will come when Hezbollah is not going to be able to control the country anymore. Mm. And the war between Lebanon and Israel today has proven that Hezbollah is not really protecting the country as he used to say. Yeah. And his power has been dismantled in front of the power of Israel, which means they were going the wrong way, and they were trying to fool all the Lebanese that they are protecting the border and that Israel is not going to be able to touch them anymore.
Yeah. It was all a lie, and the people of Lebanon are now more courageous to say that Hezbollah is a disaster. He created a disaster on all levels. But historically, you mentioned something about when you said Lebanon's neutrality was enshrined in Lebanon's founding national pact and reinforced in key documents like the 1949 Armistice agreements. Can you tell us? What is this thing exactly?
First of all, you know the Lebanese Pact that we used to call here Al-Mithaq Al-Watani. It means the National Lebanese Pact when the Lebanese decided to live together and to go to the Greater Lebanon, in 1920. So we used to have the small Lebanon, which used to be the Christian Lebanon. And when decided to go to a Greater Lebanon, when all the factions of Lebanon, the multi-confessional country, decided to live together, they admitted the neutrality of Lebanon as a main principle of living together, which means we are not going to have any problem with any neighbor, and we are not going to be a part of any problem at all.
That's why any outside war on.
Yeah, so that's why in 1949, Lebanon signed an agreement, which is called, between Lebanon and Israel. And at that time, the Arab League, they admitted this agreement and they decided to accept Lebanon neutrality. That's why Lebanon, since then, until the PLO launched a war against Israel from Lebanon, in 1969, Lebanon was living in peace with Israel.
So now
what we want to do today, there is a big mistake in Lebanon when they speak about the 1701 and the international resolutions. They say that the 1701 doesn't mean disarming Hezbollah. You know the whole story, but this is stupid, because actually during our negotiations at the committee with the Security Council and with the Secretary General of the United Nations, and the latest discussions used to be last week, they all the time they explained in all the report of the Secretary General that goes out every 3 months. They issue a report every 3 months. Every explanation of the Resolution 1701, it says that it includes the 1559, the full implementation of the 1559, which means disarming all the Lebanese and non-Lebanese militia, full implementation of 1680, demarcating the border between Lebanon and Syria and sealing the border between Lebanon and Syria, and go back to the agreement of 1949 with Israel. Mm-hmm. And it says in the item 18, which is the last one in the resolution, that Lebanon and Israel needs to work on arrangements to reach peace under the supervision of the Secretary General of the United Nations. So that's why.
My question is about the role of the Maronite Christian figures. Yani, this is very important, role of Bishara Boutros al-Rai and the religious leadership. How is too much, this thing is so significant for this cause. How the Maronite of Lebanon can embody neutrality of Lebanon?
Actually, the neutrality of Lebanon is inside the Lebanese National Pact. What the patriarch is saying, he is just reminding everybody that if we want to live together, neutrality has to be on the table and neutrality has to be implemented. Otherwise, we are breaking the national pact. What the patriarch is doing is not interfering in politics and, of course, is not calling for a peace with Israel. What he is calling for, he is saying that the national pact of Lebanon needs to lead to neutrality, which means we need to get out of any kind of wars with everybody, and we have to go back to the agreement with Israel of 1949. It's a fact. It's a fact, and this agreement actually has been signed. And I don't know if you know that there is an international resolution under Chapter 7, which is 62/1948, that obliges Lebanon and Israel to go to a ceasefire and to have this agreement. And this agreement has been done under the supervision of the United Nations.
It's time for it to revive it. But what about Sirouj Apikan? He asserts that Lebanon's anti-normalization laws are incompatible with neutrality. How do these laws, which criminalize even a text exchange with an Israeli citizen, many of us suffer from this situation, and to be connected even on the society level, as a society, between two societies?
First of all, we have a big problem right now because actually we have refugees in Israel and we're not allowed to talk to them. But the biggest problem starts when the Abraham Accords has been signed between United Arab Emirates and Israel, and also between the other Arab countries and Israel. Why? Because we have a huge population living in Dubai and living in Abu Dhabi, and they are working there. And right now, we heard before the conference that there is almost 200 people arrested at the airport. They have been released later on, but they were asked to stop working in these companies because they have Israelis in it right now.
Wow.
So we have a big problem right now. Every Lebanese who is working in United Arab Emirates is not even allowed to talk to the Israelis by the anti-normalization laws.
And maybe he don't know he's Israeli. Maybe he can't, when you talk to someone.
This is disturbing. Everything what the Lebanese they already have in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi. Because we cannot oblige Dubai and Abu Dhabi to go our way and to admit our law. That's why. So we said that we need to change the anti-normalization law to let our people to be able to still living in the Arab countries who signed the Abraham Accords and to work in these countries, even if there is Israelis working in the same companies. Because actually now Israel has invested almost $30 billion inside United Arab Emirates, and they opened around 262 companies. So how can we close our eyes on that and say that they don't exist? This is very stupid. And let me tell you another story. Whenever we used to go and present and represent Lebanon in international conferences,
you're not allowed to talk
like let's say in scouting, all the time the desk of Israel is next to the desk of the Lebanon. And of course, we're not allowed to talk to them. And this is stupid because all the scouts around the world are brothers and sisters. So, we are suffering from these anti-normalization laws, and we need to change them, especially today.
My question is your article a sign of it's the timing when the President Trump was elected and now he's the elected president. How this can help Lebanon? And we have lots of efforts. And we think, and many of Arab Muslims, Americans think that President Trump will bring peace. Is Lebanon on the first step of the Abraham Accords to be signed? Yeah. Do you think Lebanon is a number 5 or 6 country that will sign?
My wish is, I believe we need Lebanon to sign the first, today. But the problem is this: if Hezbollah, if the Lebanese politicians inside Lebanon couldn't generate a new leadership to be able to accept to go for Abraham Accords agreements, this is going to be very bad for Lebanon, because actually what's happening between Israel and Hezbollah today is a war between Hezbollah and Israel. It's not a war between Hezbollah and the Lebanese country. If you see, the Lebanese country is still safe. All other places like the airport, like the port, like all the areas where Hezbollah doesn't exist, they are still living in peace. If you look at what's happening today in Lebanon, there is 2 Lebanons. There is one part of Lebanon is in war with Israel where Hezbollah exists, and there is the other Lebanon who is still partying and living in peace and traveling and doing everything.
How do you assess? Let me be, because we don't have time. I want to make a longer interview later on. So how do you assess like people like Hariri's statement about the killing of Salim Ayyash, who was accused by the International Court of the assassination of Prime Minister Hariri? So how do you see the feeling of Lebanese, like Israel now? It's not the enemy of the Lebanese people. Do you agree on that?
If you look at the public opinion in Lebanon, I believe the public opinion in Lebanon is, of course, against Hezbollah. And I believe they think that it's a miracle that we are getting rid of Hezbollah, honestly. But the problem is in the leadership. There is a lack of trust between the Lebanese leadership and the West, especially the United States today. And there is a lack of trust between the United States and Europe with the leadership in Lebanon. If you see, we don't see today any people coming, any diplomats coming and talking to the leadership in Lebanon. It was only Hochstein coming to talk to Nabih Berri to cut a deal between Hezbollah and Israel, and this is very bad. What we really need to see, and what we are pushing for, and what I was talking to Secretary General of the United Nations on, is to put on the table an initiative for indirect negotiations between Lebanon and Israel. First, to implement the international resolutions and to disarm Hezbollah. Second, to go back to the agreement of 1948. Third, to negotiate Abraham Accords. So we need an umbrella.
What is your of course we need an American support and all of this, but what is your approach about the defense strategy for Lebanon, Lebanese army? Is there any news about like the Lebanese army will get more support? What is your knowledge about?
Of course. Actually, we used to say all the time, talking about the defense strategy, that they used to talk about Hezbollah and his gangs. This is stupid. We only have one defense strategy, which is the Lebanese army, and which is the defense law that we already have. So what we really believe in is that this Lebanese army needs to be in charge of all the Lebanese territory right now at the beginning with the support of the UNIFIL and the international community, until he is going to be able to do it alone. So we believe right now this army needs to take over, needs to start reaching and holding and protecting the areas who are free right now from Hezbollah. He needs to be supported by the international community, and he needs to be built in a way, first, to be really a national army, and we need to get out of it all the infiltrated people by Hezbollah. And at the later stage, he needs to be empowered to be able to protect the country. And I believe signing Abraham Accords and reaching a deal with the Syrians to accept Lebanon as a sovereign country, we need only a small, nice army to protect Lebanon. We're not going to need an army to be able to defeat Israel or to defeat the Syrians.
Lebanon is a small country. It doesn't have to be lots of
Yeah.
you know. From your experience, what is the time frame to execute all of these thoughts or these wishes? Final question.
Honestly, from what I'm seeing, I believe that Hezbollah is already in a bad situation, in a very bad situation. I'm telling you that the problem is with the lack of trust between the leadership in Lebanon and the United States and Europe. And actually, we don't want to see what they are sitting on the chairs, as we say it, we call it in Lebanese. They are the same people who are negotiating. We need a new leadership in Lebanon to be negotiating, and we're working on that. I believe
What
that.
about Nabih Berri? Nabih Berri, his position right now, is he any discussions?
Personally, I believe that Nabih Berri needs to leave. And this parliament cannot elect a new president. What we are working on is a transition period. A transition period to have a new electoral law to elect free Lebanese to be able to elect another president. That's why we need the support of the international
community. How do you see finally the role of Saad Boulos? We heard that he will have a position with this administration. He can be the special envoy for the Middle East because he started big thing in Michigan, and he worked a lot to bring voters for President Trump. So what role can you see for Saad Boulos in the future?
I believe that Saad Boulos he's a great friend, and at the same time, he's an excellent person, and he has proven that he has very high communication skills. He was able to get all the Lebanese and all the Arabs to vote for President Trump. So I believe that Saad Boulos is not going to be the person drawing the policies, but Saad Boulos can be the person who can deliver the message. And actually, what we really need in Lebanon is a in-between person who knows the Lebanese mentality and knows how to talk to the Lebanese, and at the same time who knows the Western mentality and knows how to talk to the West. I believe the people who are going to be drawing the policy are going to be maybe not Saad Boulos, but I believe that Saad Boulos is going to be a very good and an excellent implementer, as he did during the campaign.
You have the skills. Thank you so much, Toni Nissi, and hope to see you in Washington, D.C. very soon.
Thank you, Maria.